Dear Diary, there's so much happening this month. First of all, Dejanay and I are celebrating our 14th friend anniversary.
What's up, and welcome to the Carefree Black Nerd. This is a conversation about representation in comics and related media. And today we're going to get into the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. Man, so season 2 just dropped not too long ago. At the time of this recording, I want to say it was 4 days ago. It dropped on February 1st, 2023. And oh my God, my timeline, I must be on the right timeline because my timeline is full of reposts, reshares, quotes, video clips, images, discussions. Louder and Prouder is where it's at. I'm your host, Rain Coleman. Please be sure to use that hashtag CBNPod when you're listening to or watching over on the YouTubes this episode installment, and let me know what's what. Getting right into it, I have to say I slept on this series. So when season 1 of the Louder and Prouder reboot extended timeline dropped, I did not participate. I did not pass the assignment. So what I did though was play the series kind of in the background as I did housework, cleaning up, doing laundry, all that good stuff. And I never truly gave it the attention that it so desperately deserves. And that's I'm kicking myself for it. But actually, no, I'm not, because I was able to get caught up. More on that later. So Louder and Prouder is the kind of second installment. I don't know if this is considered a reboot or if it's just extending the series to like a third and fourth season. I'm just going to say reboot for the purposes of this conversation. So you let me know in the comments if it's something else. But this reboot was done so well. I used to watch this show as a kid way back in the early 2000s, and that it was always good, but it came right off the heels of the 90s explosion of like fantastic representation for Black folks in TV and comedy and movies and shows and networks and all that good stuff. So it just fit in that space. And man, I have to say that this reboot fits there just as well.
You were supposed to be home by 8.
I was doing homework with friends.
Okay, well, Mr. Washington called and said you haven't done any homework in 2 weeks.
Huh? Daddy!
I'm sorry, baby girl. She didn't give me a key.
Okay, so The Proud Family is a Disney animated sitcom that premiered in September of 2001, and it ran until, I believe, August 19th of 2005. So the original series had 2 seasons, about 52 episodes or so, and it was on the Disney Channel. And Disney and Nickelodeon were killing it back in the day, Cartoon Network as well, and this was one of the stellar programming. So stellar, like Disney was killing it with the animation and with the theme songs, because we all know how iconic that Kim Possible Call Me, Beat Me, if you want to reach me, if you want to page me, it's okay. Christina Milian did that. But The Proud Family had the Solange Knowles featuring Destiny's Child singing that theme song. And bruh, it ain't nothing like it. That was like a golden age of like good conversation, wonderful programming, and phenomenal music all infused into one, and I loved it. So there's a host of characters, and let me just pull this up because this makes no freaking sense. The amount of talent. So you got Kyla Pratt as Penny Proud, duh. Joe Marie Payton, who you may know as Harriet Winslow, she plays Sugar Mama. We got Karen Melina White as Dejanay, and I love Dejanay's voice. Dejanay, what I love about this show is that there's no clear right or wrong. Like there's episodes where things happen. It's like, oh, you could have did that differently. Oh, you're the quote unquote bad guy this episode. But all in all, this is a really good series that shows these kids and characters as a whole. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but nobody's ever like extremely malicious unless it's like to service the episode. And even then, it's like this wrapped up in a bow lesson that we've learned from all this. We have Tommy Davidson as Oscar. We got Cedric the Entertainer as Uncle Bobby. Like there is stacked cast, And to revisit the music for a second, of course, we had Destiny's Child. Then they have like music. You got Aretha Franklin, Alicia Keys, the OJs. Like the music within the show was always so good, and that did not. They did not let us down in that regard with this new series. Like, bruh, this just hit all the points that it needed to. Like, kudos to them. So let's move it forward to a couple days ago. Normani. So a clip of the character Giselle, who is a pop star in the Proud Family universe, not surface, released, exposed. Somebody posted it online of her singing a couple bars of this phenomenal song, You're Lucky. And when I tell you, if you haven't seen that or heard that song, what are you waiting for? I can't do it justice, but you're lucky I let you. It's good. It's. So Normani as Giselle absolutely killed it. Now Normani is a recording artist who came after me, after my prime teen years. I still enjoy her voice. I like the music that she's released, but this right here, I'm hoping she capitalizes on this. This Giselle character and that song. Give me a full version. Give me a full 3 to 4 minute version of that song. Let me hear it. So seeing that clip that someone posted and hearing that song, I kid you not, that song grafted itself onto my skin, into my DNA. I was hooked right away. And because of that, I went right back to Louder and Prouder, season 1, episode 1, and I binged it. I spent the entire last 2 days going through this series, kicking myself for not doing it sooner, but also patting myself on the back for waiting so that I could consume 2 full seasons of this stellar programming. So shout out to Normani. Shout out to everybody who tweeted and linked, presented, posted that clip, because I am not gonna lie. I was sitting in my car when I saw the clip, and I sat there just to like warm it up because we're dealing with snow, ice, winterness down here. And I was like, all right, let me listen to this. I looked up, and it had been 30 minutes of me playing it on repeat. Like, this is my jam. So I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm a fan of Giselle, and I hope she appears again in season 3 more times than not. Now, keeping in tradition of Proud Family and their musical guests, we even had Little Nas X. Now, Little Nas X was in the Old Town Road 2-part, which was the last episode in season 1 of the reboot and the first episode in season 2 of the reboot. And man, when I tell you they did not disappoint, like seeing like the music part was there, but even apart from that, having his character be, I think he played Junebug Town, but being so integral, like seeing a 2-part episode of a retcon of Sugar Mama's family life, to give us that deeper backstory, something that we didn't really get way back in the early 2000s, but that was stellar. The artwork was great. Having the Afro Indigenous scenes were good as well. I'm trying not to spoil too much, but there's a romantic element to Sugar Mama's past that just makes sense. And it didn't feel forced, and it doesn't feel like trying to force in and check all the boxes with diversity and representation. It made sense, and I enjoyed it. And I'm seeing nothing but glowing reviews online. Now, there could be some folks who are against it, but we choose not to see that. But if there's legitimate cause for concern, of course, bring that up. But everything that I've seen from indigenous and Afro-Indigenous communities online, anyways, has been positive, especially about that particular episode. Then there was an episode with Lizzo where she, again, not to spoil too much, she addressed or helped a character address their changing body and the rejection from their friend group because of it, and being more confident in this thing that has changed and made them slightly different than they were before. And that was stellar as well. Now, unlike Lil Nas X, Lizzo played herself, and it was fun. It was fun. Even Maury made an appearance on this season, which was like, it worked though. I want to say he voiced himself, and Gabrielle Union. I want to say she was the model lady, but I heard her voice on there as well. And for me, a lot of the fun was watching and enjoying the season, but also trying to figure out without looking it up online, who was this character? Why does that voice sound familiar? Where do I know them from? And Normani's I never would have caught. I'm not gonna hold you. I would have never caught. But she is the gateway drug that brought me into this season in this series.
I'm here. Let's make this quick. I'm on your team, but I'm not wearing your little blazers and I'm not learning your secret handshake.
Wait, we've got a secret handshake? Nobody told me.
And most of all, no posting pictures on hologram. And if one of you Poindexters tags me, Myron, I'm out.
So with this series, I binged it. I'm sorry, the reboot, seasons 1 and 2, done in under 2 days. And I say under 2 days, and it would have been quicker if I hadn't been working at the pyramid tonight. If I wasn't there, I would have finished it quicker, much sooner. I like the show. It feels like a very good transition from the original series. They dealt with your hormones and your body changing as a preteen, teenager, LGBTQ issues, racism, autism. That episode really got me. Like it, I don't know. I'll just say it got me. I don't want to spoil too much, but dealing with that, dealing with your hormones, dealing with your friend groups, dealing with falling out, dealing with being adopted, dealing with being different, dealing with preferences. There was an episode, and I don't want to spoil that, but for those of you watch, a preference in dating. And that one is the one that really had me kind of side eyeing the show. I was like, "God, y'all got to bring this together for me. You got to bring it back together." And I think I still am down for a conversation about it. But they did. They brought it together. I had no doubt that they would, but the discourse leading up to the everything tied up in a pretty bow was like, I don't know, y'all, but they did a really good job. And then with the autism episode, I really, really, I'm one who I'll say this: I enjoyed Dro on Insecure, him and his wife, and their representation of a particular kind of relationship that is sometimes very looked down upon, and sometimes something that is presented as, "Oh, we don't. That's not some our people. We do," and that is vastly different from this show, though. Two totally different demographics and whatnot. But in the way that I feel for that leg of representation, I thoroughly enjoyed this as well. And I really like it because, again, the show handled it well from where I'm sitting. They provided enough conversation to get conversation going if that is something that maybe someone watching may be experiencing themselves. And they provided enough options and enough dialogue, which is what you want from, programming aimed at kids, but also aimed at me because this is definitely what I watched way back in the day. But that's what you want. You want something that can give you some education, start some conversations, and make this something that's not so unheard of or unspeakable. Autism exists. It does, and it exists in many different forms and many different layers. It presents differently in other people. And the way it was presented in this episode, I really liked it because I don't, as much as I see these conversations online and I have them in my day to day life with other people, this particular presentation of it is not something that I'm familiar with. And it's like, oh, maybe I need to look a little bit deeper into that. Why is that? Why don't I know about this? But I thought that was a really good episode. And even the ending of season 2, that's another one that took me a minute. I'll say that. I'll say it took me a minute. They got there. It is a cartoon, so there's a lot of things that happen that are just like silly as hey, like somebody pulling a bullhorn out of their pocket or something, just something silly. But I think that this was a really good, really Man, really good show, and it should be watched by all. And why should you watch it? Well, if you enjoyed the original Proud Family, this is definitely for you. No matter the age, this is for you. Um, the topics tackled were done really well and tastefully. There wasn't anything that felt extremely inappropriate. Um, I remember in season one the backlash that the show had received from some viewers who are upset about the Michael character. And Michael is full front and center just as much in season two as he was in season one. And the thing about representation is it pulls things out of the darkness, out of the shadows, and it lets them be known. It lets you see folks and people and things for what they really are, or what they could be, or what some versions of them are. And so instead of being a token character with these zippy one liners, Michael was a part of the story, much like everyone else. And that is one reason above most of them that I say, watch this show. The other thing is, I think this show did a really good job at pulling in things from the first series. They did the flashbacks in the original artwork and everything. They did not redraw or reanimate anything. They just pulled from those, and they did it sparingly enough where it wasn't every two episodes you get this deep, long, drawn out flashback. And they brought up some folks that I actually have forgot about. Like even with DJ's siblings, when we see them on screen, I was like, oh, I completely forgot about these kids. There are some recurring antagonists. One of them mentions the Penny, like, how long you been? What did he say? How long you been in the ninth grade? 20 years, something like that. It's just fun. So I say, give it a watch. See how you're feeling. If it's for you, you'll know within the first, I'd say give it 2 or 3 episodes. And if it's not, that's fine. But if you like Proud Family, the original series, this is definitely for you. So go ahead and give it a watch. So again, this is Rain Coleman, Carefree Black Nerd. You listening to this episode in podcast form and you want to talk about it, hit me up on those lines, on those Twitters and those TikToks, Carefree Blurred. Use that hashtag CBNPod. Let's talk about how you're lucky. Let's talk about that. If you want to email me, carefreeblacknerd@gmail.com. Y'all over there on YouTube, jump in those comments. Let me know what you think. Did you enjoy this season? Did you enjoy this series? Or are you heavily against the reboot? If you are, that's fine. But I'd like to know why. And until next time, y'all, stay carefree, stay nerdy, stay geeky. And if you wake up one day and realize there is a doppelganger version of you and the rest of the world, do your best to tell your greatest joke and be prepared to fight to the very end. All right, y'all.
What a surprise to me as I hear in passing the celebration of freed men who sing Jubilee. No signs of that here, as Christian Smith would say. Stop the festivities. The Negro doesn't have a day.
What's Jubilee?
That's what they called Juneteenth back in the day.
Wait, you mean they still weren't free after Juneteenth? How did that happen?
The Emancipation Proclamation only applied to Confederate states. Union border states were not required to abolish slavery.
So it's true. Lincoln really didn't care about freeing enslaved people.
Actually, he wanted to deport us.
Why are we just learning this? This should be the first sentence of his biography.